financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Jenny Lingo, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken.
David Einsteinig.
Most fabulous to be here.
We're going to talk straight, it's a continuation from last week's show, straight talk about debt. This segment, how we analyze your situation to determine the smartest way to get out of your debt. Last week, we brought it to this point. We said there's two rules you need to focus on. One is, what is the method to shed the debt at the least cost and the quickest way? And number two was, Chapter 7 normally is the least costly, most effective way if you qualify. If you don't, then you have to look at Chapter 13 and whether that's the better alternative compared to debt resolution, which is settling your debt outside of bankruptcy. Now, we did Chapter 7 last week, but Jenny, we didn't get to one point that I think was important. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, when available, Brian, this obviously involves you as well, is the one opportunity that you can discharge income tax debt. Is that right?
Well, actually, you can discharge income tax debt in both Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 and personal Chapter 11, to be 100% correct.
So in a Chapter 7, how do you discharge the debt?
Well, in order for income tax obligations to be dischargeable, no matter which chapter of bankruptcy, they have to, A, have come due at least 3 years ago. The tax returns have to have been filed for at least 2 years, and you couldn't have been assessed in the last 240 days before filing your bankruptcy.
So if you meet that three-prong test, plus I know there's a lot of additional tests that you have to go through, then the taxes are normally dischargeable in Chapter 7?
That is correct. If you meet that three-prong test, the taxes are dischargeable in any consumer available chapter of bankruptcy.
Does it matter if you're a day early?
Good point.
Yes.
If you're a day early.
Yes, it does
Is
matter.
that like all of a sudden
It,
that
it
bad?
is a hard, fast rule. 3 years, 2 years, and 240 days.
I think in the area of law, you can count on this. If you're a day early or a day late, it can matter dramatically. You have to comply with the law in order to take advantage of it.
I've
Is that a fair
seen clients who filed actually their Chapter 7 one day early with an attorney who didn't realize taxes were dischargeable in bankruptcy, and it was a $75,000 issue. One day.
And the
there's
mistake
a
can be
big
made.
problem.
Here, I'll give you a perfect example. When were your taxes due this year?
April 18th.
Not April 15th?
No, but I want
Everybody thinks
move on.
everybody thinks that they're normally due on the 15th. And if you
So
just start counting from the 15th,
Big problem.
right? So you got to be 3 years from April 18th, not 3 years from April 15th.
Which means you need to make sure the person who's taking care of your business is doing their homework so that you go back and you check. Because even last year, I don't think the filing date was April 15th. I think it was April 16th, if I recall, because it fell on a weekend. So you always have to watch for those things and you have to be careful. Now I want to move on. Chapter 13, we've gone through the analysis of saying, okay, in this particular case, I don't qualify for a Chapter 7. I make too much money. I have too many assets. Chapter 13 is the next analysis, but before we get to it from the standpoint of the normal 13, what are the special reasons sometimes to file a Chapter 13?
Well, I don't know how
What's
special.
the biggest special
I don't know
reason?
how special they are, but
Lien
if you want to
stripping?
stop a foreclosure of your home,
I think that's pretty special if your house is being foreclosed.
it is absolutely one of the most effective tools and most effective parts of
How
Chapter
do you
13.
how do you use Chapter 13 to do that? What's
All
the
right.
first thing that people need to know? When does that 13 need to be filed?
If you do not file before the sheriff's sale, you're done.
So rather than operate in the negative, let's do it in the positive.
You must file before the sheriff's sale.
Thank you. That's how I like it. Okay, and then what does that accomplish?
Okay, the filing of a Chapter 13 before the sheriff's sale stops it. It puts something called the automatic stay in place. It's a stop sign. Like imagine the light turns red when you're driving and you can't go any further without it turning green again. Well, the light stays red for the creditor who's trying to foreclose.
Run the red light.
Well, if you run the red light, here's the good news. If the creditor continues to foreclose after the bankruptcy's been filed, they get in trouble and it has to be undone.
Actually, big trouble, right?
Huge trouble.
Yeah, because you're violating the automatic stay and the bankruptcy court judge will slam you.
Yes.
What's another special reason?
Well, so Chapter 13, what it does is it stops the foreclosure and it allows you to repay the bank the arrearages that you have. Now that's a foreclosure for falling behind on your mortgage payments. That's a foreclosure
Taxes.
for falling behind on your property taxes. So if you own your house,
Your
but you
condominium association dues also.
condominium association dues also. Any arrearage that's leaning the house that allows a foreclosure to occur.
Car payment too?
Car payment is not on your house, but it does stop the repossession of your car and allows you to catch up
so tell
anything
me-
you've fallen behind on
What's
over
the
as
catch-up
much as
period?
60 months,
And as little as,
3 years.
depending on your other income factors?
Yeah.
So that's, I would have to say, see if we all agree on this, the most common reason why we put a client into an emergency bankruptcy in a crisis mode is they've called us up and the house is going to foreclosure sale in 2 weeks.
And I'll add to that, the foreclosure's happening, they're being garnished, they are about to be garnished, their car was repossessed, their car is about to be repossessed. Any activity that's coming from a creditor that is causing you stress and anxiety and causes you to possibly lose something, a Chapter 13 is going to stop that process
And let you keep it.
and let you reorganize and potentially keep it.
So in the special circumstance mode, the 13 stops you from losing an asset that you want to keep. It's not a question on the special circumstance about discharging the debt. That's the other aspect of 13 that we'll talk about after the break. And discharging the debt is what we accomplished in Chapter 7. But if you're facing foreclosure, repossessing the car, and you want to stop those things from happening in a crisis, first step is get in, see an attorney, make sure you have your option played out, and take action before the sale. We'll be back after the break.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the medicated nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. When we came up to the break, we were talking about special circumstances for Chapter 13. We talked about stopping foreclosure. What's another one?
Lien stripping.
All right, explain how that works.
I don't want to.
Okay,
No.
I'll explain it to you.
Lien stripping is an available option in Chapter 13. What it is, all right, most people, if you have a second mortgage in this day and age, because your property is underwater and you owe more money on your first mortgage than your house is worth, which is very common still today.
So there's two sides of underwater. You can be underwater in that the value of your house is less than
all the money that you owe on
both
the house.
mortgages.
Or you can be underwater and the value of your house is less than your first mortgage.
And that's what we're talking about?
Very key. If
So
your
the house is worth $200,000, the first mortgage is $225,000, the second mortgage is $25,000.
clearly underwater on the first mortgage.
All right, so what does a Chapter 13 do for you?
Chapter 13, lien strip. This is an aspect of Chapter 13. It allows you to remove the second mortgage, which claims to have a security interest in your property, but as we can see that since it's the first mortgage is owed more money than the house is worth, the second mortgage attaches to air. Okay? There's no equity that it attaches to, no bricks and mortar. And because there's no bricks and mortar that it attaches to, in Chapter 13, I can rip that second mortgage off of the house, remove it. And while it would normally take you 30 years to pay that second mortgage off, I get to treat it as a Visa or MasterCard.
Like
I
a
get to
credit
treat it
card.
like an unsecured debt,
Paying pennies on the dollar.
paying as little as 0 cents on the dollar through Chapter 13.
Let me ask you an important question. I gave you an example and said if the second mortgage was $25,000 and you were underwater. If the second mortgage was $125,000,
It doesn't matter.
it still becomes an unsecured debt.
That's right. The only thing that limits you in Chapter 13 lien stripping is the totality of your total unsecured debt. If your unsecured debt exceeds, I think it's $382,000, then
You can't file Chapter 13.
you can't file Chapter 13.
But isn't the lien stripping in essence just identifying the practical weight that the asset has? That if everything was foreclosed, there would be no security for that debt. Therefore, you're just like a credit card.
But it's a great
That's
rule
the concept.
because it allows you to get out. So if your house is close to being equal in value to your first mortgage, you're not way underwater, but you're a little underwater on the first, and you've got a big second mortgage, then Chapter 13 is a tool to use to try and fit yourself within to lien strip it to get rid of that second mortgage. Your house then comes up in value a little bit more, a couple of years, you pay down the first mortgage, you've returned to equity.
So you mean if there's equity comes in year 2 of your 5-year plan, you can still take advantage of
Yes,
having
yes,
stripped it? Because that's a huge deal.
The picture is the day you file the bankruptcy. What is your position that day? So if you are underwater on your first mortgage and you do the lien strip on day 1, and then as it happens, something occurs, there's the
value of the property goes up. Let's
Yeah,
not-
a rush to get
okay.
into that neighborhood. All
You're
of a sudden your
protected.
property's more, it's still lien
The
stripped.
answer to your question is yes.
As long as you successfully complete the Chapter 13.
Which is
That-
a big,
which is critical.
means you have to go and comply. Now talk to me about that. How does the 13 work? Forget about lien stripping and stopping foreclosure. You're in a 13. What does it do? How is it different from a Chapter 7? And why? What's our analysis as to whether we should do it?
And assume you're a W-2 employee getting a regular paycheck. How does it work?
So
What is a 13?
Chapter 13.
Don't give me a
I know,
Rubio
I won't.
answer. I want I don't want an automatic answer.
I got you. But it's reorganization. It's restructuring your debt. What happens is that when you look at income and expenses, you have something left over to pay your bills with. It may not be everything that you need to pay all of your bills. As we all know, this credit card wants money, this one wants money, and this one wants money, and at some point you run out of money before you get to the last bill.
Let me relate back to last week's segment. When you were talking about Chapter 7, you said if your regular expenses exceed your income, then you qualified for a Chapter 7. In this circumstance, your regular household expenses are less than your income and you have a little bit extra.
Right. It
Okay.
could be
Now, what do we-
$100. It could be $300.
So that puts you into a 13 and says no Chapter 7 for you. How does that little extra work in the 13?
All right, let's just say all of your credit card bills. Let's just use just the credit card bills in the Chapter 13. You had $100,000 for the credit card debt, and the minimum monthly payment was $2,500 a month.
Perfect. Those numbers are right.
Okay, now something changes in your life, and now all you have left over is $500 a month
Instead of 2,500.
instead of $2,500.
Okay.
500 doesn't pay $2,500, does it?
No. It's
Okay.
1/5.
Right. But that's all you've got. So what it does is it says all you've got left over after you pay your electric bill, your gas bill, your water bill, buy your groceries, send your kids to school, well,
So
not
you have to pay 500 into the plan
into the plan per month,
for how long?
anywhere from 3 to 5 years. If
So
you're above the
60
median
months
income,
at 500 would be
$30,000.
and you'd be getting rid of $125,000.
$100,000 worth of debt.
And if there's
not only would you,
if there's medical debt, that
it's all the same. Medical bills, credit card bills, lien strip mortgages. It all gets dumped into, let's say it added up to $300,000, and all you could afford was $30,000 over 5 years. The creditors get 30, the 270 is gone, and you've saved probably $270,000 worth of interest on top of it.
Suppose that number was 1,000 rather than 500. And now 1,000 times 60 months is you'd have to pay the creditors back $60,000 against $100,000 of credit card debt. You'd qualify for a Chapter 13, but would you be inclined to do that for a client?
Well, since I believe we're coming up to a break, I'm going to use 2 words before we use the break, hit the break.
Well, you got 26 seconds, so make them a long 2 words.
Okay, well, in that case, debt resolution.
The point being, if you're paying too much back to the creditors in a Chapter 13, we have a more effective method of using debt resolution outside of bankruptcy to settle the credit card debt at less cost, shorter period, because that is the goal going back to our 2 rules. We'll be back after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross, 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Fav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, It's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Welcome back. We left off with the analysis of sometimes a Chapter 13 can be eligible, but you're giving the creditors too much, so we go to debt resolution. Debt resolution is the next issue in the analysis, but we're going to hold on debt resolution actually until next week's show because it takes more than 5-6 minutes to explain. And instead, we're going to do announcements, and then we're going to cover the issue of, well, what about my credit score that everybody's always worrying about? So we're going to talk about that. But because David wants to do announcements, we're going to do those first. I want to remind our watchers to listen to us on Tuesdays noon to 1, 6 to 7 p.m., Law and Reality Live on WCHB. That's 1200 AM, 99.9 FM. Thursdays 3 to 4, we are on 910 AM with Cliff Russell on Law and Reality Now. We cover all these shows, current events on the radio show as well in terms of things that are happening in the news media. 2 seminars coming up. Time to Say Goodbye to My Debt, Wednesday, June 1st, 6:30 to 8 p.m., covering all the issues we talk about on the show, how to resolve debt inside of bankruptcy, outside of bankruptcy. You attend the seminar, you get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. All of our seminars are always free. They're not elaborate. You don't come and get dinner. You come and you get water, and you get some cookies, as long as the staff remembers to bring them, but you get a lot of great information, you get your questions answered, and you get, I believe, inspired as to the fact that there are great solutions to problems that people think they can't get out of.
And if you come to Time to Say Goodbye to My Debt, you get a free copy of Ken's book, Dump Your Debt.
I think I just said that.
You might have, but I'm repeating it because free stuff is good.
I would agree with
The
you.
next seminar, that is saving your assets from the nursing home. And we truly mean saving your assets.
Brian, we can see, is in a funny mood today. It's happened.
Hilarious.
Wednesday, June 22nd, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Pat Simasco is going to join us, elder law expert. This seminar focuses on 3 things. Basic estate planning between 40 and 60, dealing with the issues with mom and dad when they're facing the nursing home, protecting their assets by using the Medicaid laws so that you end up not spending all of your parents' money on nursing home care. $8,000 a month, 32 months, extremely expensive.
Save it all. Learn how to save it all.
Both seminars, sign up, lawandreality.com, thavgross.com, or you can call our offices at 888-235-HELP. Go to our websites. There's 3 free reports available, one on Social Security, one on business formations, and one on using Reg X to stop foreclosure. Those are available free on the websites. You just go there and download them.
And you know what? If you don't have access to a computer, you can also call us at 888-235-HELP, and we will mail you a copy of the report.
Good point. All right, so now I want to... Debt resolution is the system that we use to settle and resolve debt outside of bankruptcy. It's not debt settlement, it's not hokey, and it's a tool that we use after we've analyzed Chapter 7, Chapter 13, and we've concluded this is an optimal way of getting out of debt. We'll cover debt resolution in depth next week. I want to go to the question that is always asked by every client, and it's also asked by every person if I'm sitting across the table just having a discussion about what we do. What about my credit score? Everyone's always worried about their credit score.
What about it? I'm not worried about it.
What are the points that we need to know about with regard to your credit score, Brian?
Well, okay. So let's assume that you take a dramatic step and you filed a bankruptcy, you're doing debt resolution, or you're considering it, and you're concerned about your credit score. Yes, it is going to take a hit. It will be impacted in a negative way.
There's something that you always say when we talk about credit scores. It's usually the first thing you say, and it's one of the most astute statements you've ever made.
That credit scores heal themselves, and they get better, and you will recover from
Usually
an
you do it
action.
more concise. Usually you say credit scores recover fast.
No, you say credit scores recover fast. I say they heal themselves.
Okay, now explain that, because
All right.
it is a good point.
When you cut yourself and you go to the doctor and you get stitches, you heal, right?
Explain it today, not in 12 years.
Are you on Coumadin?
Yes.
Well, credit scores are just like anything else. When you cut yourself, when you hurt your credit score, it will come back. Credit scores heal over time. The more you do to get rid of your debt, the better off your credit score is going to become. Why? Because credit scores are a factor of many things, including the amount of your available credit and the amount that you owe.
And your pay history.
And your pay history. Well, if you don't owe anybody, your credit score is going to heal.
It's going to go up by virtue of the fact that you have no debt. That will overcome the hit you take because you stopped paying your bills.
You know, the best story I have is doing a bankruptcy for someone I know about 5 years ago.
It has to be a 1-minute story,
and
not
his
a 4-minute
credit, I'm
story,
shortening it, and his credit score at the time was 409.
which is low.
You have to work really hard to make your credit score suck that badly, okay? Most credits.
Nice
yep,
choice of words
yep.
on national for our national TV
We'll figure
audience.
that
Go ahead.
Anyway, credit scores for most people that have bad credit are in the 500s. Once I did his bankruptcy for him, 2 years later it was in the mid 600s. 4 years later it was 749 and he bought a house.
And then now let's talk about, even though we haven't addressed debt resolution, I can tell you in debt resolution, when you stop paying your credit, when we solve credit card debt by stop paying the credit cards and then settling them over an 18 to 24 month period, credit score goes down about 100 points at the low point of not paying the debt.
It starts to come back almost immediately.
And then once we've settled the debt, it usually comes back 150 points. The reason is this. Most people in that situation have tapped out their available credit. Their credit score has fallen under 700, even though they've never missed a payment. It falls down to around 600. Then at the point where they've settled all of their debt, the credit card companies keep sending them credit cards. They take the available credit. They don't get themselves into debt. The score comes back up to 750. The beauty of the thing that the banking industry wants you to believe is your credit score goes down and it dies and it never comes up. That's why your point is very well made. They recover. And when they recover, it takes care of the problem.
If you're 85,
Final comment.
If you're 85 and you have an 810 credit score and you're broke and haven't got anything in
And you
the
go
bank,
to the bank and say, here's my credit
yeah,
score?
I'd like to sell my credit score, you're never going to get anything for it. You need to preserve your income now for your support and your future support.
And I would also add to the fact that on your tombstone, you're not going to say, I had a 780 credit score my entire life. That's not what you want to be your claim to fame. You want to live out your retirement happily, and you want to have cash in the bank to do it, so you got to stop paying all that interest for all those years. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality. Thanks for watching.